So, welcome to our circle. We are here to talk about ayahuasca specifically, but I first want to talk about what draws me personally to lead this little group and this dialogue with my friend Cissy. I'm Jeremy Anacker. I'm a lifelong seeker and transformation enthusiast, and I have a little community I lead called the Affinity Transformations. And I have a vision and a mission. Today, I want to talk about kind of my vision for transformation, and we'll talk about how ayahuasca fits into that for the next hour. What I want to talk about is something I'm excited about is that we can connect to a higher experience, and people do that in different ways. And I offer ways to do that in this community. I personally am not an ayahuasca person. I have not done ayahuasca personally. I've researched it in my own way over many years, and I have a lot of a lot of reflection on the possibility of transformation through shamanism and the use of these substances. So that there's the potential to have a higher experience, which can bring insight, and then a full transformation begins to happen when it's integrated, when in time we kind of get a sense of where it's taken us, and we find a way to incorporate that into our lives, or it shifts our bottom line of our own beliefs and who we think we are. The full transformation to me happens when we live life more consciously, and we have like a deliberate new ways of thinking and being and acting. We've become better people. So I always measure up what people are doing to what's real, so we can have really fantastical experiences without becoming a better person. And I want to hold up into the light that we can have a full transformation. And people do different things before they're ready for the full transformation picture. But I do a lot of work to support people in the full expression of transformation. And if you're a person that happens to go to the path of ayahuasca, integrating and finding ways to live in life in new ways, you may use our community to help you with that. I have a unique approach to looking at how to be in daily life from a free consciousness. So I want to now introduce that you can find us on Affinity Meetups group and look at events coming. For instance, in 1 week, we're doing a free dialogue on spiritual shift happening in one's self and in one's life. And if you look at Affinity Meetups group down the road, you'll see all kinds of good things in the works to help higher experience, insight, integration, conscious living, and new ways of being to emerge for you. So here we have a good friend of mine who I've been working with for months and months in so many ways, is Cissy Zhang. Am I pronouncing that okay?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay. She's okay with me slaughtering her, the proper use of her name. I'm so blessed. So we want to hear from Cissy. And let's think about kind of where you've been. Like, who are you, and what are we doing here? We're talking about ayahuasca. You have a spiritual quest you're on. So try to get to the spiritual quest and quickly talk about who you are, please.
Yes, sure. So my name is Cissy. The Chinese way of saying my last name is Zhang, means open, but as a last name, there's no meaning attached to it. Anyway, I was born and raised in China. I finished college in the US. I started my career with Big Four accounting firms as a CPA, and then I work in retail merchandising. In 2017, I moved to France and Singapore for my business school. My last full-time employment was with Walmart as a merchandising director in China. So I live a very mundane, worldly life. before all this radical transformation that I went through.
Oh, wow. Yeah, so you're going through a radical shift. You're aware of things like you've never been before. You're on a healing journey. And I know you through teaching you Reiki and watching you work as a healer. When you came back from your ayahuasca journey in Costa Rica, it was an integrated experience for me. I've been with people that have had ayahuasca experiences, but their whole aura didn't flash on in some way in the integrated space like a month later. Somehow you had this intuitive ability all of a sudden in the Reiki sharing. Can you speak more to that?
Yeah, I definitely experienced a surge of ability to feel the energy from others. And I found out about that during our Reiki sharing. So what led me to this route was starting from early 2020 when COVID broke out. I was in China, and when the government of China ordered a countrywide shutdown, I realized how serious the problem was. I decided to bring my son back to the US. Ultimately, I had to quit my job to stay here with him. And then a month later, I found out that my now ex-husband was having an affair and all that. I was furious. I knew I had to heal. So immediately I was looking for help from coaches and therapists. And then over and over again, I noticed that these coaches always stress how important spirituality had been. But knowing that I grew up in China, it was a new concept for me. So I started reading this book that you and I share interest in, which is called Conversation with God. From there, I started open to spirituality. And one of the teachers that I follow named Vishen Takiani, he is the founder of Mind Valley. He did a podcast on ayahuasca. He talked about he went to this Costa Rica retreat specializing in ayahuasca. He talked about this plant medicine and how the plant medicine guide him on the approach and step he need to take to succeed in his business. And that's what interests me about ayahuasca, is trying to figure out my life purpose, the steps I need to take. And honestly, when I end up in the retreat, I did not do a thorough research on the subject. I figure I trust the facility is validated by credible people. And then I found myself there a couple of months later in Costa Rica.
So what you told me was that it was a full system of things. Like you did yogas, you did groups, you dialogued a lot on the process. So it was a very deep study.
Yeah. So yes, so this facility that I went to is a licensed medical healing center, and ayahuasca is legal in Costa Rica. And not only they offer the ceremony, they have breath work, they have yoga every day. They teach a course designed by Michael Beckwith. He's a spiritual teacher that was featured in the movie The Secret. What else? They have spa, they have massage, they do cleansing work on the retreat. They even have a doctor and psychiatrist that people need to talk to. They're very approachable. So for ayahuasca, it's not only it was helpful for me because to deal with my circumstance in life, but a lot of people go there for PTSD, to heal depression, anxiety. It's very effective. Some people say that a week with ayahuasca is equivalent to 20 years of therapy work. That's just something that people say. Yes.
Yeah, I was listening to some testimonials from ayahuasca journeys, and I have this really open consciousness. So my hamster was rolling around on the floor in the kitchen, and I was picking up on the energy from the ayahuasca testimonials, and infinite love started expressing itself through my hamster and talking to me. And I didn't take a plant. I had this intuitive impression. I just sort of picked up on their energy, and I was having insights into myself while getting ready for work in the kitchen. um, so what I want to share is that it has a profound effect and breaks down the barriers to insights into the truth, to the reality that's here. Because infinite love is animating everything. Infinite love is everywhere. It is expressing itself as a hamster. That's already true. So it opens us up to the truth. Cissy, I heard you talk about some of your experiences. So if I say it's opened you up to the truth of yourself and of life, what did you experience?
Absolutely. So at this retreat I was at, they teach us there are 3 intentions that we need to bring into the ceremony. And so it was a week-long program, and 4 of the nights we had ayahuasca ceremony. And for the first 2 ceremonies, they taught us to hold the intention and ask ayahuasca who I have become. And from there, after you realize who you have become, the second intention you work on is merge me back with my soul at all cost. This can be a little intense based on who you have become. And I did have a very intense experience with that too. And then the third and last intention was heal my heart. But honestly, when you realize who you have become and you merge back with your soul, I believe your heart have been healed on a great level. What I experienced was every ceremony was different, and I made YouTube video to break down my experience in detail. But here I will give you a summary. On the first day, very first day, oh yeah, and then a background thing is when you drink ayahuasca, it's very likely that you will purge, meaning either throw up or need to go to the bathroom or cry or sweat. My way of purging was throw up. Well, I throw up, the first message was it was a lot of cheese. And then I saw an image of myself turning into a baby cow, trying to hatch onto the mama cow's breast. And from there, I realized that I need to stop eating so much cheese. And that diet had been causing myself inflammation. That's the first message. And then I saw the movie Devil Wears Prada, and I realized that I have this idea that successful women need to be like that Devil Wears Prada, and then which is not true. From there, the second night, ayahuasca showed me the importance of grounding and healing. It literally dragged me to the ground and be with the dirt and slept under the moon. It was very intense experience. Third night was beautiful. And then the fourth night, I asked ayahuasca to merge me back with my soul, and I found my soul split, meaning the moment when I was around 5, 6 years old, that my soul separate from my ego, because my ego need to play a much bigger role in my life to protect me in certain circumstances. I found that soul split, and from there I asked my soul come back to me, that little girl come back to me. We hugged, we merged back. And then the next morning everything was beautiful. I was doing yoga with the group, and they were playing a song called I Am Everything, and I literally felt that. I looked at outside the window, I saw the beautiful scenery of Costa Rica, and I was so grateful. It was beautiful. Yeah.
Oh, that you just put a lot in a few minutes, Cissy. And I mean, for anybody that's watching, look at her animated face, look at the experience she must have had just from how she's expressing herself. I just, sitting in the energy is very uplifting. Thank you for sharing all of that. So how useful is it to discover that soul split, to bring your soul back to you? I mean, I think part of it is you're celebrating life the next day. Somehow you're more yourself.
So what happened was on the third night, I felt stuck with ayahuasca. I didn't feel like it was showing me any message. And I talked to the founder of Rythmia at the resort that I went to, and he asked me, well, what's your intention? I said, I was asking for how I can achieve worldly success doing the things I love, like make money and all that. And he was like, that's not what we taught. You can have those intentions, but really because I was such a beginner, I should have surrendered my expectation to what the plant medicine wanted to show me. Because one thing with ayahuasca is she knows what we need to heal, what we need to work on more than ourselves. I thought I need to know how exactly I can get the next job, make money, but that was not the plan from the plant medicine. The plant medicine really want me to heal myself, which I didn't even know what I need to be healed with. Some people saw exactly what they need to be healed with was images and the sounds. For me, she didn't show me exactly what it was, and I was quite convinced that it could be generational trauma given where I'm from and all that. The importance of merging back with my soul, the founder of Rythmia explained, is after you merge back with your soul, that's when you start to receive message from the divine, from the spirit more clearly. Because without knowing ourselves, it's hard. Like it's like there was a block between us and the spirit, but after we combine with our soul, our higher self, things will happen much more easier. And that's what they call like life happens through you, not for you.
I love that statement. What a beautiful statement to end on. Life is happening for you. And it's happening for your awakening.
You.
It's also happening through you, right?
Yeah.
Everybody just noticed she's sort of spontaneously found herself in a setting where the sun is shining and making her seem as if she's of the light in a real clear, obvious way. This was not pre-planned. Wow, there was so many things in what you just shared. How do we even move forward with it? There were so many incredible details. But mostly I think I'm feeling your self-discovery enthusiasm. You understand there's barriers to the light. Maybe there's generational trauma, there's maybe cultural trauma that you have to look at and be honest about and have compassion for. And I think in the healing world and in all of these different settings, people have challenges going through the layers of themselves and being honest with what's going on inside. The human ego can be so layered in practices, formal ways to present so everybody knows I'm happy, and it can be forced instead of real. So do you actually feel some of that, like leave the learned presentations, the pressure to be somebody that's learned, that's a learned presentation, maybe it's a persona. Do you feel like you've put some of that aside?
During my ceremony, during my week at the retreat, I realized that I learned that lesson, the lesson that you just described. Like I had my expectations, I have my like those persona that I want to act, but the medicine showed me that was not who I really am, and I need to change, and I really need to surrender to the experience, to the medicine. And that's when I was able to merge back with my soul. And honestly, I think the benefit with ayahuasca that's different from traditional way of healing, like seeing a therapist, is you don't have to know exactly what you need to work on, because the medicine knows. You drink the medicine just know where you need to work on it. For example, some people, they can feel, they can see little aliens, little creatures, fairies doing surgery on them. And afterwards, some people's eyes were healed, some people's knees were healed. It's not only on the mental space, like physically, people have transformation too. For example, well, we know that ayahuasca help to deal with inflammation. And after my ayahuasca ceremonies, I lost 15 pounds.
Wow.
I did do exercise. I did go on a plant-based pescatarian diet, like fish diet, but the transformation was so easy. I believe after that baby cow experience, ayahuasca rewired my brain. Now I see food differently. I don't just go after, like, I have so much respect and understanding for vegetables than I used to be. I never thought I could not eat meat for so long, but I did for over a month after ayahuasca. And then when you go on to these ayahuasca retreat, for example, Rythmia, they do have a plant-based diet. They serve chicken and fish, but then they do help you during the ceremony. They were quite serious about not eating meat even before the ceremony when you get there. Yeah.
You're going through a transformation, and as you come back, you're living differently. You're choosing differently. What I think about is these tough addictions we have. We often can't get over them until we've really connected to our spirit. So in a way, I might contextualize it, that you've connected with your spirit, that you're able to change your eating habits and lose weight because something fulfilling has emerged. Something very real inside has emerged, and there's no need to fill that hole with ice cream and cookies.
Absolutely. I do want to explain, like, different people do have different experience during the same ceremony. Some people will receive message on exactly their problem is, and some people hear, some people see, some people feel. I'm in the feeling category, not as much visual as other people. It's more of a feeling, and then I know this is the way it got it to be going forward. It's quite magical. And I would not, one thing I learned is to surrender yourself, meaning do not have a list of expectations of what will happen, like, because expectation can lead to disappointment. Like, the medicine did not show me what I need to do, like step 1, 2, 3, 4, how to make money. It come later. It come after I come back to my real life. It's not like I stop reaching out and doing research on what I need to do. I continue to do my inner work, outer work, and little by little, I realized that the path has been painted.
What you're saying confirms a lot of the things that I try to remember. One of them being to work at finding my heart first. If I really find my heart, I'm finding this enthusiasm without end, and I'm bringing that to whatever I'm doing, whatever project I'm doing, and that can equal material success. But let's make sure the heart's in the right place. Another thing that what comes to mind is generally in spiritual community, as I've been watching it for a while, maybe 30 years or so, it's pretty consistent that whatever brings one in the door, it's their ego. Their ego has brought them into the door, into the group or into the system. And there's all these wants. And it's interesting to pay attention to what's really also driving them is their spirit. Their spirit's going to teach them something other than what they want in a conscious way. So it's nice to have that insight at some point early. So you kind of can track that there's a lot more benefit just like going for the bigger truth. Who am I really? How do I live a life that reflects my true self? And somehow that equals a more successful life, but it redefines my successful life. It means that now joy is the priority. Functioning practically has to happen, but joy is now more of a priority. And do you feel like you're leaning into a life that's more real, more joyous at this point?
I think I'm leaning into a life that more follow my heart than what my head tell me that what I'm supposed to be doing. Since coming back, I gradually decided I don't want to go back to the corporate world. I decided that it's time to pursue, um, to remember, to discover my own passion on what I want to do. I believe that I can do something that I enjoy and also fulfill my material needs. I started this YouTube channel. It doesn't make money at all right at this moment, but I just felt so passionate to talk about this medicine. The reason was when I was at the retreat, I found myself so interested in everyone else's experience. I want to hear their experience. And then when I come back, I was like, wow, if I'm so interested in listening to other people's experience, maybe I should share my first. And that's how I started my YouTube channel. That's one thing.
Let's
And then, yeah, go ahead.
let's make sure people can find that YouTube channel. I mean, if
Oh,
you're on the chat right now, I put her YouTube channel on the chat line to everyone. So you can find that. I have it listed under link to Cissy's YouTube channel. So if you're having issues finding that, make sure you contact me later. She's putting a lot of energy into it. She's putting a true attitude into this. And it's really inspiring to watch a person go after what they really want to do. What I want to now do is just open it up. Does anybody in our little circle here have a question to Cissy? A curiosity about this whole process? Hi, Deb.
Hi. So I've had experience with, I did some ketamine treatments about 2 years ago, and I know it's entirely different from being a plant medicine, but I still experienced a lot of what you're talking about, and I didn't anticipate that. It was life-changing. I just was doing it for PTSD and depression, but when I left that experience, I realized all of a sudden I'm not eating meat anymore. I'm changing what I eat. I stopped taking medications. I got off of all of them. I wanted clean water. I wanted to change my diet, just all this stuff. I value different things. The ego gone. And then it just like been this whole work that I've been doing to be more present and conscious, and the spirituality part, it's become such a drive. I'm trying to like work on, I almost feel like I want to go and do another experience similar to that. I don't know. I was looking at the idea of possibly iboga or something like that. I'm looking for something a little less intense ayahuasca because with the ketamine, it's out of you. Once the infusion stops, you're just pretty much not having the experience anymore, and it wasn't uncomfortable. So I just have concerns about having, a really negative experience. So I don't know if you have any knowledge about iboga, and then also any advice on integrating in society. That's something they didn't do with me, and they realized there's a need for it later. But the integration piece is really important too, because you come back with a lot of information. I had journals. I came back writing, and so I guess it's 2 questions or 3. If you have knowledge about iboga, also working with, if I did do the ayahuasca experience, like working through a bad experience and how to do that, I guess, and then integration process and any information you have about that.
yeah. So I do not know the medicine that you were talking about. I just very recently had my first LSD experience. It was beautiful. So what I understand is doesn't matter so ayahuasca, it has DMT in it. It's the chemical that trigger our brain to have those experiences. So it doesn't necessarily have to be plant medicine. It can be protected, well-guided medicine too. What I do know, there are other kind of plant medicine that's milder than ayahuasca. I'm trying to find a link. I know there's a resort in Costa Rica that does a plant medicine from frog. I think it's called Bufo, Bufo, but I'm trying to look for that, and I will type in the chat later once I figure out that information and the integration.
It really does seem like it's a matter of researching enough to be safe. And what I've been researching is that people do jump in and get hurt by teachers without integrity, you know, and in the jungles, there are people, their culture is different. It can be a bit gangster about the ayahuasca approach to consciousness. And the other thing, even in the more integrated or the more integrous style of ayahuasca growth, the purging is an important part of the process. You're getting rid of toxins, and I think that it's helpful to know this right away, because what we have is thrill seeking. So people want the high, they want the fantasy or the fantastical to happen. But the reality is you're being transformed and it's not comfortable. So the good and bad experiences are good and bad based on our perceptions. And when we go in and we go to the other side, we realize we've been judging what we call bad experiences. They're actually transformative energies. And I think this is all stuff that's true for transformation in general. You know, in energy consciousness work, we learn to trust all the challenges, the tensions in our life as teachers. So in general, that's, to me, how I've integrated higher awareness or higher experiences, is that when I'm going through my daily life, I'm no longer arguing with life. I'm trusting what's going on in the middle of it. It's asking me to be more all the time. It's asking me to look at myself in terms of my marriage in really intense ways, or in how I live everyday life. So in terms of integrating, I think that what we can all notice in everyday life is we have an ego that says, no, this challenging experience is bad. How do I get rid of it? And what Cissy is speaking to is, you can't do that in the ayahuasca experience, and let that teach you about how to live daily life too. That there's these experiences right in the middle of yourself right now. There's these challenges inside between your ears. And what if we give up the fight? What if we let our own energies right now teach us? What if we could just be with ourselves intimately? The ayahuasca is a way to teach us that. There's other softer methods. By the way, I am not an ayahuasca person, and I don't perceive I'm going to do ayahuasca. I'm an enthusiast when people find their answer, and I want to support Cissy and anybody that wants to do this path. So that was 2 questions: the purging, and we're trying to find some answers for Deb on other styles of hallucinogens. I also want to share that if you're looking at using mind-altering drugs from a thrill-seeking attitude, or trying to make yourself happy with substances, you've missed the point of this whole dialogue. What was the third question you had, Deb?
Oh,
But for me, it's definitely not for thrill seeking. I go in with questions, and like for me, I feel like deeper answers come from places that, like, that maybe the higher self, and it's definitely not just that's not what I'm anticipating. For me, originally I was trying to work with PTSD and stuff, and it did help for that.
By the way, I didn't mean to point you out. I meant, Alex, we're talking to Facebook and YouTube right now. I want to make sure everybody knows the general framework we're in. But Deb, I really did not get that you're thrill seeking. You're trying to get high off of stuff.
But I felt like it was so amazing how it just changed everything in my life. And that's the integrating part of, like, if you do that experience, I've watched reconnect with Dennis McKenna, and I've listened to a lot of Terrence McKenna. But it's just like a deeper realm where you receive more answers about life and yourself, and reality as you know it is entirely different. So that's the part that maybe someone wouldn't anticipate, is that it changes your perception so deeply about what is reality. It's based on your own perceptions, and our own perceptions are very conditioned, I think, and it helps you question your conditioning and then open up the ability to maybe make some changes in your life, because you become more aware of what's there blocking you. So
Yeah, well said, Deb.
you.
Ayahuasca is not a recreational drug. It needs to be properly guided by shaman with experience. We need intention before we drink the plant medicine with respect. Otherwise, the trip, if it's non-controlled, I don't know what could happen. And it do take bravery. Like, I understand when Deb said ayahuasca is intense, because I don't think everyone's ready for that. When I first got to the retreat, a lot of people were telling me how brave I was. I was like, why is it brave? And then for a ceremony later, I was like, we really need bravery to meet our soul, to see who we have become. So totally on that. And then integration, after I came back from my ayahuasca experience, I did a month-long diet. I did not drink alcohol, no red meat. I continue to have salad with fish and chicken. I exercise every day. I did yoga, I meditate, I did breath work if I had time. I cut down my media consumption, like did not watch Netflix because I think even news or TV show have different vibrations. I'd rather stay in that vibration as high as possible. I went to Jeremy's Reiki sharing because I know that's a good place for healing. And I did experience a surge of my ability to detect other people's energy. And then I found a local drum circle because they play the similar music with the Ayahuasca retreat, which is led by the indigenous people. Fortunately, I didn't have a full-time job, so I didn't go back to work right away. But from people who were in the same retreat with me, I did hear like other people struggle of that integration. That's when a solid foundation of who we are come into play. That's important. I think if I were in that situation, I will come home at the end of the day and meditate and find my balance and ground myself. A very important lesson I learned and I continue to do these days is grounding, earthing. What that means to me is the easiest way is take off my shoes and walk on the grass in a local park, or sit on the grass. When I meditate these days, I sit on the grass in the park. I don't just do it at home. Connect with the earth. I think that's a really effective way, and a way that a lot of people have overlooked because we have fancy shoes, we car everywhere, but just be with the nature is so helpful.
What I would offer, Cissy, is the full integration to me is you remember and utilize your tools consistently. So coming back from a retreat or a big experience, and then if it equals a new way of living where like it can be, you do 30 mini meditations, 1 minute meditations a day or something, so that you're always managing yourself to be free while functioning. So that to me is another level of integration where somehow you connect it to your spirit and an attitude about living, to make sure that you're going to be free while interacting with egos in the material world or whatever. So that would be like the full integration to me. But Cissy's talking about the tools that she's willing to do in rare fashion. She's doing the breath work and the meditation and all the different things. But if one needs to do more in life, well, Cissy's right now in a kind of a timeout in her life. Things have slowed down beautifully, but just to hold the vision up for me, I hold in mind that I can be with the world as my true self, and that's what I'm doing in best efforts. That I can be right here as freedom interacting with the world. No longer am I a physical being looking for spiritual experiences. I'm now the infinite being or a spiritual being in a physical experience, and that's the fact of my moment while I'm driving or cooking or interacting, doing whatever, politics or finances, whatever. I want to move forward with another question in our room here because we got other people that may have thoughts to share or a question. Anybody? Patrick, please.
Yeah, I was just wondering what made you choose that specific center, and also the exchange between you two, and what reassured you, or what did they say to reassure you that they were the ones to go with?
Very good question. The reason I chose that retreat is because the founder of Mind Valley Vision, Kalyani, he did a podcast on it. I used to travel to resorts, so I don't want my first experience to be like really left in the jungle. So this resort is actually equivalent to like a 4 or 5 star place that they have airport shuttle, you have a nice mattress, they give you a bucket to perch in, you have your own shot. They do COVID test right now. Everything is very well executed. They have 4 to 5 employees every day track your performance. Here's my experience I want to share. Like the second night during my ceremony, I had this grounding experience. I lost myself. I had this in-body, out-of-body experience. The shaman eventually took me out of the ceremony room, which they didn't recommend. And she asked me to drink water, which they also didn't recommend. So at the time I knew how serious it was. And when she took me out of the ceremony room, I just collapsed on earth and start screaming. I had no idea. In my mind, I was like, why am I screaming? This is not like good manner. And I don't even know what I'm screaming about. Anyway, I screamed, I fall asleep. That was the second ceremony. And then the third ceremony, at the spot I was collapsing, I saw a pillow and the blanket outside under the moon. I was like, what that look like is for me. And then the third night, there was a mattress with a pillow and the blanket. So every night my experience was elevating, and I knew that was for me. I knew someone was taking care of me. And also that ayahuasca is legal in Costa Rica. It is currently illegal in the US. I want to do it in the proper way, the legal way. And that particular center I went to is licensed medical center. And the chief medical officer used to be the chief psychiatrist in a really well-established Malibu retreat for drug addicts and alcoholics. And the founder is a multimillionaire. I think it was my crowd. I want to be taken care of, and I trust these people. That's how I end up there. If you're interested, I will share a link about this place.
Yes, please. So you went on your own?
I went on my own, and I recommend you go on your own too. Reason one is I met so many amazing people. I felt like if I were going with another people, that will slow me down because I want to take care of my friend instead of truly emerge and talking to as many people as I want. The second reason is really before, during, and after ayahuasca. If you want to go with your partner, they recommend no sex, no sexual activity before, during, and after, like 19 days after the experience. I don't see a point of going with anyone, really. So yes, I went with myself, and many people went by themselves. It was a great experience. Now I feel like I found my tribe.
Excellent. I love how this whole presentation is working out. Cissy, you're showing enthusiasm, and honestly, you're kind of at this phase of your development where you're really discovering some things, and you're being honest about your level of awareness about everything. But your bright energy is really teaching us all. Some things I was going over when I was doing some research this week. By the way, years ago, I studied this physicist, Fred Alan Wolf, and he went on a quest all over the world. He studied all these shamans. He went to the Peruvian jungle. He went to all these healers. And he was a physicist, so his consciousness was really tight and hardened, and he had migraines. And when he went through the ayahuasca ceremony, he broke the cycle of migraines. He loosened up his rigid physicist mind. So it was really what was needed for him. And when he was interviewing that shaman, the shaman said, if a person that does drugs or is addicted to drugs came to him and went through the whole experience, they would come out not wanting to do drugs ever again. That was an interesting statement. And over the years, I've had friends that did ayahuasca. One person I know of did ayahuasca and had a spiritual practice and healing practice, but still was really mean and cruel to her son. So that's not yet being fully integrated. So whatever I'm doing, if it's ayahuasca or not, I try to ask myself, is it real? Am I changed in a fundamental way? Am I more kind to my wife? Am I embracing myself with more kindness and love? So the proof's in the pudding. But some of the things that were being said is, for instance, that some of these things we do are actually crutches, and some of these things we do are actually helpful. They tease out things about ourselves and become more aware. One person I've been studying recently, Gabor Mate, he's a specialist in trauma, how trauma drives addictions. And he's admitted some of his own addictions, but he's kind of the leading guy right now to study on this body of work. And he was talking about doing some plant-based work so he could discover his trauma inside, like what really is going on. And he is aware now that as a baby, he was starved in Nazi Germany, and he was traumatized in certain ways, and he got more clarity about those early life, like body memories that maybe you don't really know are there consciously. So that's another thing that someone can discover. It's sort of pointing out that you need a lot of courage to break down the barriers, like it's being said by many of the people that do this work. A gross oversimplification is all you have to do is take ayahuasca and then you're changed. So think about your own lives right now and what method you feel like you need to use right now. It could be ayahuasca or something else that takes you to an elevated place, a higher space. And ask yourself how you can experience that high self, and then how can you get to a place where you live differently as well, live more consciously, more ways that reflect your connectivity to others. What is another superficial use of ayahuasca? What is a superficial use of it?
Good question. I would think the intention, if the intention is superficial, that will be a superficial use of it. Meaning, like when I went into the retreat, I thought the medicine was going to show me how to become a millionaire. It's not how it works. No. You have to heal your heart before everything else. I would think that's it. Yeah.
I was listening to an ayahuasca dialogue this morning, and the teacher was very adept with language and contextualizing his experiences of shamanic initiations, plural, over many years of time. And he was talking about the kind of psychic warfare that goes on inside oneself, and then also within the group, or between you and others. And that there's a sort of like a presentation of the collective unconscious that sort of shows up in the room. And he was talking about people calling on different deities or gods or animals for protection or for help. And he was that's all that also integrity. But at one point I was wondering, was he creating perceptions of this great thing? Is that different than actually being transformed?
I don't know how to, I don't have that experience, so I can't say, but from what I know, from what I taught from that retreat is when you're on ayahuasca, we are working with Mama Ayahuasca. We are working with that plant medicine. That plant medicine, all the divine God are connected. So during the ceremony, when we were drinking the plant medicine, we were thinking about our intention while we were drinking that plant medicine. To me, it was really simple that I was working with ayahuasca. And integrity is extremely important, as you said, because the medicine is so powerful. I think another way of not being authentic with a plant medicine would be, I want to overpower this medicine. I think this is how my experience with the medicine will evolve, which is not true. This medicine is very, very powerful. It knows exactly what you need to do. During the ceremony, definitely be grounded and respect the power of this medicine and respect the guidance from the shaman. Yeah.
Wonderful. I always gravitate towards a simpler approach, and maybe it's in some ways I've done so much complexity in my life. I'm kind of maturing. I see through some of it. Yeah, just you're calling the ayahuasca, the god in the plant, a she, like a teacher, a female. I've heard that before. Does it really feel like a female when you're being taught by the plant?
So what if she's a female, she's a tiger mom.
Tiger mom.
But yes, but what I learned is these plant medicine, they have their gender. Like ayahuasca is considered a feminine plant medicine. That's why it's called she. Did I know if she's a female? To me, she's very gentle. Okay, another thing I want to mention is how ayahuasca works with you is how your soul work with you. That's what we were told. So for me, this medicine has been very gentle. It showed me pictures. When it was tough, when I was thrown onto the ground, she didn't show me any violence or disgusting pictures. It was pitch black. I have no idea what happened. Afterwards, I felt better. I felt through the medicine, I felt the Mother Earth, I felt the moon goddess. I literally felt it. It's hard to describe. I know it may sound crazy to people, but I literally felt those planet and the energy from them. So everything happened to me during the ceremony, it felt like a female energy.
Wonderful. Well, you're amongst friends that can validate easily having intuitive experiences, and we don't think you're crazy. It's normal in some circles to have these intuitive experiences and to share, and that strengthens all of us. It makes us all feel more confident about testing out the subtle aspects of our own consciousness. I just realized that Terry wrote a few things down in our chat. I want to read it out loud to the group, just let it ruminate. So Terry says, we live in a duality paradigm, good and bad, hot and cold, day and night. Assimilating the shadow side is part of authentic healing. Anything we see in someone else that makes us snarl, we wouldn't even notice it if we didn't have that somewhere within ourselves. So it touches a nerve within us. That's very good, transformational bottom line. Whatever I see in someone else is a reflection of my own self. I'm only seeing an aspect of myself out here. In any given case, that's a tough transformation bottom line to own. Owning it instead of preaching it is another layer or level of transformation work I'm still working on. But I know to make sure I'm practicing it more than saying it. The next thing Terry says is the ayahuasca experience brings you back to those practices of self, love, and care that one knew all along, but was neglecting. And so Terry's confirming what happened for Cissy. You're doing all these practices as you came back from that experience. Yeah, it's good to restate these things. These are the kind of things you have to state over and over again, because transformation to me is about vibrating in the truth with more dedication, or more completely vibrating in the truth, and doing whatever it takes to have that come to life, whatever is needed. So yeah, what comes to mind right now to say is everyone in our little group here can hold in mind our own possibility for transformation, to go to the highest vibration and to live that vibration out. We can all kind of hold that in mind. And I want to ask you to consider doing whatever it takes. Like, absolutely do whatever it takes. Do not wait to be a transformed person. And do not let anything get in your way. A spouse, a mother, a job. I mean, some people do radical things and quit their corporate job. Some people do what it takes in terms of 3 nights a week, go to a class that's about higher consciousness, and spend their weekends, writing a book on, something they love. So people approach that differently, but basically, I think the attitude, doing whatever it takes, is a big one. And I think Cissy's done that. She did whatever it took. She went to Costa Rica, where it's legal. I know of a friend that did it with Native Americans, because Native Americans have their own religion, and it's legal within a religious setting in the United States.
You're right. Yes, I've heard of that too. Oh, and I do want to comment on what Terry said. It's so right. That's one of the lessons I learned during my ceremony, is about self-love. Before that, I've heard of the word, but I don't understand. Like, I got massage, I take care of my skin. What else is there to do? And during the ceremony, I realized that self-love is to speak to yourself kindly. During the ceremony, the medicine was always very gentle and kind to me. It never occurs to me. I thought when the medicine was going to show me who I have to become, it will show me some like gangster pictures, like how bad of a person I have been. No, it just showed me a DVD case of the Devil Wears Prada. Just like that, I got my message. Yeah, so these days when I curse myself in my head, I know that it's not my voice, it's somebody else's voice embedded in my head. So I can separate that from myself and be more gentle with myself, and be more kind and forgiven to myself.
And the way you're sharing, Cissy, is that these things we know that are kind of written in books are coming to life here. You're sharing from an actualized place, and that's I know, just miraculous that we have this opportunity right now. So I really I'd like to thank you for that, and I want to restate that for anybody that's watching or listening, there's transformation opportunities coming up. Like on Saturday night, I have a group, a channeling night at 7. Look at the meetups group that we have. It's Affinity Transformations Meetups group. I think we call it Affinity Group. And you can find that through my website at affinitytransformations.com. I wonder if I could state how to find Cissy's YouTube page for those who are watching on Facebook. How would we find that on the search, Cissy?
You can search Rising Awareness with Cissy Zhang. And I shared a link of my channel in the chat of the Zoom. Maybe you can copy that to the Facebook group.
Okay, if I'll put that on my Facebook page, okay, so that anybody that's listening can just find it there.
Sounds good.
it's nice to find an enthusiastic person like you, Cissy, and thank you everybody for coming on. So this is kind of like the official end. So if you have to leave now, I really appreciate you. Bless you. I'll be sending blessings to everyone I know tonight, just as a thank you. Any last burning questions now that we're more in an intimate setting?
I do. You mentioned about, I think it was Reiki, you said, and how if it kind of changed, you could start picking up on energy. Is that right?
Yes. Yes. For me, it's my master.
Oh, okay. Because I've gone through an awakening experience this year, and that happened to me. I went to Reiki for the first time about 5 months ago, and I started having Zoom calls with people, and if they were feeling really happy or really sad, it was like a physical, is it the same as you with you? It was like a physical reaction. Like my throat would clamp up or my chest would kind of do something. So weird.
It's
So weird.
It sounds like you're an empath more than running Reiki energy. An empath is someone who's very sensitive to other people's energy. And actually, that's one thing I got healed with ayahuasca, because as an empath, we pick up other people's energy, meaning we might be carrying other people's baggage with us that doesn't really belong to us, and we need to be properly trained and learn how to release those energy and how to protect ourselves.
Okay.
Honestly, I think that's more like what you were experiencing. Reiki, for me, we were in the Reiki sharing, and we practice Reiki and send energy on people. What I was experiencing was, for example, when I was putting on Reiki energy on different chakra, I can tell, oh, your heart chakra is heavier than the rest of your body, or oh, your mind, there are a lot of going on in your head.
Okay.
Those are the things that I was picking with Reiki. A little different from yours.
Okay.
Yeah.
The intuitive experiences that happen are often challenges to go through that later are clearer on how to see it. But I would offer that one of the things we really need, and as we explore energy, is the ability to go past the left side of our brain. One of my little affirmations is to say, delete the need to understand, delete the need to understand. So I'm not trying to figure out energy experiences, just letting myself go into the field. So it's the discovery of the energy field in me and around me, and then in others, in rooms. And we discover that energy field, and the left brain is trying to figure it all out when it's time to just be in the energy. And if we continue that, the judgment can leave, where even negative energy is sort of moving around in the room, and we don't latch onto it so it doesn't stick onto us and hurt us. So think about advancing it someday to that place where you're just in energy, allowing it, and then it moves through you, and you're just in this open space. And that comes from not trying to figure it all out or judge energy. So by the way, yes, I have a Reiki sharing second Sunday of the month here on the east side on Mullen Street. We have a room full of people that do Reiki, and it's a blast. And I've been leading them for 30 years. And I'll also probably do some energy awareness classes. I have a aura seeing and sensing class coming up in September. I have a energy detangle class coming up as well in September on a Tuesday night. What's that mean to untangle the energy? why do energies initially tangle, and what does it take to untangle? I have some context for deeper relationships too, like with your parent or with your sibling. Like there's some deeper knots we have with others that keep us entrenched in difficult patterns. How to detangle. So trying these awarenesses out can be a big part of getting a better sense of how to deal with oneself as an energy being. But I think it's critical territory, because the fact is, listen to this statement, the body is a small part of you. So everything you can grok about you is 1% of your being. So the body's actually inside of you. You're inside of your magnificence. So this whole exploration is just a journey towards that fact, discovering that fact. And I like to lean towards having it be a discovery, a direct discovery. Well, we're going a little bit over time. I love free-form dialogue. I really appreciate everybody. Let's do this again soon. You're all invited to any event coming up. I'll have some more free ones probably in September and October on a Monday night. I appreciate everybody. Thank you so much. Have a nice
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks,
Thank
Jeremy.
you.
Thanks, everyone. Good night.
Bye.
Good work, Cissy.
Bye. Thank
Thanks,
you.
Laura.
Bye.
You
Bye.
bet. Goodbye.
Bye, Terry. Bye, Deb.